Hey there, I'm Lee Ullman here with some big news from the National Young Farmers Coalition. We're partnering with Heritage Radio Network on a special season of The Farm Report. It's all about what's happening with the Farm Bill and how it impacts farmers and eaters.
I am growing diversified vegetables on land that's been in our family for 150 years.
And so with the pandemic, gentrification, property values going up, we had to sell the land and we lost it.
Join us as we uncover the untold stories behind this massive piece of legislation that shapes how we grow our food, what we eat, and so much more.
The problems we have had, those are things that come from earlier Farm Bill and USDA policy, right? Like Earl Butts, get big or get out.
You know, it's my responsibility to know not only what I'm eating, but then like how that all came to be. And realize like, wow, like this piece of legislation, all this money, like it's technically something that I support as a taxpayer.
While Congress debates the next Farm Bill, this is not just an invitation to listen. It's a call to action. Be part of the conversation. Subscribe to the Farm Report on Heritage Radio Network, wherever you listen to podcasts.
2%.
The 2%'s right over here.
Oh, hey, Jenna. I didn't know you shopped here.
Yeah, anything to support local food, know what I mean?
I definitely do. Though that's not the only thing you do in the name of Good Eats, obviously.
Well, true. I also host Eating Matters every Wednesday at 5 p.m., where we talk about food policy and how it impacts all of us. Be sure to tune in.
All right, gotta get the plug in there. I get it.
Yep, I'm #shameless.
You know what else you can do to support the local food community, right?
Well, yeah, make a donation to Heritage Radio Network, the world's pioneer food radio station.
That's right, and I gotta call you out on the whole local thing.
What do you mean?
Well, the Farm Report, A Taste of the Past, Japan Eats, those are shows that take you around the country and the world.
I'll give you that. So how can listeners give their support?
It's pretty easy. Just go to heritageradionetwork.org and click on the big red heart in the top right corner. It's pretty easy from there.
Thanks.
Today's program is brought to you by Whole Foods Market. For more information, visit WholeFoodsMarket.com.
I'm Chris Kuzmi.
And I'm Mary Izette.
From Format About It. You're listening to Heritage Radio Network, broadcasting live from Bushwick, Brooklyn.
If you like this program, visit heritageradionetwork.org for thousands more.
We talk about food, we talk about music, with musical dudes, finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
Allora, bello mio, voglio solamente meraviglioso te. Da quando ero piccola avevo sogni di un fidanzato perfetto. Ti amo davvero, ti voglio bene. Salvami, baciami ancora, amami ancora, carissimo, cuore mio, dammi tutto del tuo amore, amore.
I know it's been a short time, but it feels like forever. You're always on my mind, now more than ever. Can't remember life without you, the memories just aren't there. I think that my heart always knew that I needed you there. Pretty sure I know what to call it, could call it love. But I don't wanna move too fast, identifying us. Do the same rules apply when it's up to you and me? Oh, I'll take my chances now, only one thing this could be. Maybe it's too early, tell me if it's early. Don't wanna scare you, don't want you to walk away, but I want you only. You're the best part of my day. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. I may be talking crazy, but please don't be afraid. I know you feel it too. I can tell in the way you behave. Pretty sure I know what to call it, could call it love. Oh, but I don't wanna move too fast, identifying us. Maybe it's too early, tell me if it's early. Don't wanna
If you did me dirty, better right your wrongs, Bonnet.
Hey, here you go talking that shit.
I write them songs and make chicks spend nights and thongs, sorta kinda not quite for long.
Yo, you really drawn right now.
Love when I hear, love when I spit. Paint a picture, she in love with this shit perfect. She in love with the drip, so dog I can't tell it's your chick. Nah, see she in love with my clique. Get money, dress fly, talk shit. I bet you played a part in the shit. Joe me like Melissa Joan Hart and shit.
Oh yeah, you Joe shit.
Need a chick to make a partner and shit. We can take a trip to the big car dealership.
Come on, then we
Think
out.
you know who you are dealing with. That no murder nigga killing shit. Nigga flow like water, BP oil still spilling shit. Ball clothes, nigga still feeling it. One bottle left, nigga still chilling it. She still ride, nigga still willing it.
You know what? I should have listened to my girlfriend. I don't even know why I'm dealing with your dumb ass. I should have never put my emotions out there. I don't know why I gave you my time of day. Nobody wants to be with you. You're drunk all the time. You're tired.
Hello and welcome to Snacky Tunes. I am one half your host, Darin Bresnitz, coming to you from beautiful, super hot California. Sit in the Noy House with Chef Greg Bernhardt. Welcome to Snacky Tunes.
Thank you so much.
So you've been open for a little bit now. Giant, amazing, beautiful location in Hollywood. Sort of like a beacon in this area because you drive down the street and it's pretty much just like Denny's and Arby's and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this whole neighborhood is really known for fast casual. More of the low end, super fast, kind of feed the studios. We have this amazing and luxurious opportunity to be a part of this Columbia Square. I don't know, the refurbishment or the revitalization of this really amazing neighborhood with tons of history, and opened Paley restaurant about 12 weeks ago.
How fast are those first 3 months?
Oh, brutal.
Brutal?
Yeah, brutal. Yeah,
but
intense.
it's not, I mean, how long you been, but it's more than 3 months. A year before you started to open the doors?
Yeah, we started actually in and developing Noy House, and we're actually part of, watching this whole campus, so to speak, wake up. And so started with getting in here, sweeping the floors, helping build the kitchen, put together the food menu, and then slowly basically watched our restaurant being developed right alongside of Noy House. And so I've had this amazing lens to look through watching Columbia Square really wake up.
Now, before we get more into the restaurant and more about Columbia Square Wake Up, let's go back to a little bit of your history. Now, you are from Midwest, Montana. Is Montana Midwest?
I think it's more mountain.
Mountain?
Or
that's more
Pacific
mountain.
Northwest, yeah.
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Bucolic, growing up, farms, things like that.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
what when someone who's only lived on the coast thinks of when they think of Montana.
Yeah. I mean, Big Sky Country for a reason. It's breathtaking. It's really a truly magical place. A place that I think people are a lot more connected to food and a lot more connected to the earth, really.
Is it just because they see it?
Yeah, I mean, you're just surrounded by it. You can't not, be affected when you just look up at the mountains. It's truly a magnificent thing.
Now, grandparents had a farm and a cattle farm. I mean, that was really connected, right?
No, it was more like it. It's not so much a farm as my grandparents. My grandfather had apple trees and things like this, and then the other side of my family had cherry orchards.
Oh.
And then we grew up near a cattle farm.
Gotcha.
And so probably way out on 81st were the chutes. So they would bring all the cattle down in from the upper pastures, and then literally the cattle would go down the chutes, get loaded onto the trucks to go to the killing yard.
Gotcha. Now, I know that you came to cooking professionally a little bit later in life, but do you have any memories of that time where you felt a connection to food, or you felt that this might one day be calling for you, or was it just Montana, young, this is just life? Yeah,
no, actually I had no idea. I had zero idea, and actually now only in retrospect does it really make sense to me, because I ended up, my brother's a jazz musician. He lives in New Orleans and tours half the year with a bunch of crazy people, and then I ended up going and studying art and then living in Europe, and I was like, man, I'm going to be a painter. And when I got to Los Angeles, the switch flipped inside of me, and I felt like I don't know, I felt for the first time a real connection to food. I mean, I was a guy who didn't eat anything green until I was like 16.
Oh, so were you a young starving artist to a T?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, you know, and plus growing up in Montana, it's easy, but it's steak and potatoes. I mean,
sure.
I grew up in a German family in the middle of, you know, crazy, beautiful, big state that was all about agriculture. And so none of that stuff ever actually occurred to me.
Now, how much of the discipline of being an artist and the fact that it is long hours, little to probably even less pay than a chef, but skills, refinement, doing the same repetitive motion over and over again, and then also building on that. How much of that were you able to transfer to becoming a chef when you started cooking in earnest?
I think all of it. I think the most important part of it is understanding how to cultivate the creative aspect of delivering food. I think they're really similar in the respect that, you know, there's you in essence are creating something from nothing. You have a goalpost that you need to get through, but the physical and technical aspect of gathering these things together, changing them, morphing them, and then putting them into a place for someone to view or someone to enjoy, I think they're very similar. There's a lot more science, obviously, in food, and I think that they really they lend each other, for me, a lot of power and a lot of respect, because I'm able to switch my brain from, you know, the technical side of cooking, and I'm able to really get into the artistic side. And then when it's time, I think when it's time, the science or the things that are just built into me now through 15 years of really hardcore cooking, now those things, I don't think I hang on so much the science end of it, as now for me it's more just, I have the luxury of just switching into the artistic mode, and then at some point along the way the technical aspect will come. And so, you know, putting paint on a canvas and putting food on a plate to me are almost identical.
I mean, the fact that you got started in like the late 90s, early 2000s, which you could say was one of food's most avant-garde times as far as like literally painting and really science, things like that. I mean, were you bringing any of that, or was it just, you were just like, I need to get a job so I can pay for the painting?
In the beginning, yeah, that's exactly what it was. I mean, I washed dishes in a little Italian restaurant. I was scrubbing pots, and they gave me food and a paycheck, and I was able to go home and paint. And that was really where it all kicked off.
So you got to LA 2001?
2001, April 1st.
April 1st. And what was the food scene like back in LA in 2001?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I would say, you know, it was very French California. A lot of people were either straight out like fusiony, or they were very French California.
And what was I mean, were you just already on the West Coast and you just went down to LA, or what drew you to the city, or was it the food scene that drew you here?
No, funny enough, it was a lady. It was a girl.
Oh man, I wonder if you could track the amount of moves for a significant other. In the world, and how that is really defined. I assume that relationship is
yes, no.
Way.
Yeah.
Way of the dishwasher.
Yeah.
But you got down here, and it was that. But when did it? You know, if your first job is washing dishes, and now you have such a storied career here in LA, and nationally. When did it click in, going from, okay, it's going to pay the bills, to go, this is going to be the lifestyle, and the painting is going to go to more of the hobby?
It was really one person. I was working with Fred Eric, who at the time was, you know, he was really blowing up. He was a very trendy chef. He was really into a lot of fusion stuff. He was incredibly well studied, one of the more gifted guys I've ever cooked next to. But he brought this gentleman named Matthew Dixon, who just moved back here from Paris, and he was just a tornado of passion and intensity and integrity. And watching him cook, I knew that I wanted to make that transition. And at that moment, I opted from, you know, being the guy who showed up and this makes me money to make paintings, to I'm going to start showing up 6-8 hours earlier for my shift. I'm going to learn saucier, I'm going to learn butchery. And, you know, within 5 years of making that decision, you know, I went with Neil Fraser and we won Iron Chef together. I really compressed a lot of intensity. I knew that this is the direction I wanted to go. And I knew that for me, painting as well, like, there's a level of discipline that at the time I just didn't have the ability to see it, but I knew that being in that kitchen and being around that structure, I could still make incredible things happen, but it would provide the framework that would allow me the kind of lifestyle that I wanted to lead.
What was the first dish that you came up with, that you created?
Oh man,
where you weren't just cooking these other guys' food, because you know, it seems like it was a lot of tutelage from when you started doing it and cooking other guys. But when did you go, not only did I make something great, but all these other chefs that you respect go, that's something great?
It was at I can still remember this. It was at Chris Morningstar's wedding, and it was
shout out to Chris and Tureen.
Yeah, right. And we, all of us, including like Eric Greenspan, I can't remember all the chefs were there. This is pretty common. The chef's wedding is, you know,
it's a real
it's a spectacle.
Yeah.
You know? And I remember bringing duck confit and having Alex Aguinot, another kind of local chef who also came up with us in Patina. And he was French. We called him Frenchie, but him actually saying, "This is the best duck confit I've ever eaten in my life." And it was just kind of like, if I could have high-fived myself, I would have. I mean, like it was
just privately in the bathroom by yourself.
Yeah,
just
like yeah, like I think that's when I guess when the things kind of started to come together.
And then when did you decide that you're like, I'm going to start? I mean, you went to sort of open up Church and State around late 2000s and things like that. Was that your first big venture out on your own?
It was, yeah. Basically, Stephen Arroyo, who's kind of a legend in the community, underground, he came to me because he saw me working with Neil Fraser at Grace, and you know, every time he had ever come by the restaurant, I was there. It's 9 a.m. or is it midnight? I was always there. So that was it was quite a big foundation for me. And he came to me, and we ran into each other at the Silver Lake Street Festival. And he said, let's talk about the future. And I knew exactly what that meant. He had Cobras and Matadors, which was like this crazy, amazing restaurant. And he had basically always has his eye on, you know, up-and-coming neighborhoods. And we took a drive around, and the first place we looked at was Church and State. And, you know, stood back across the street. And I said, bar and bathrooms on the right, kitchen on the left, those two big windows, that's the dining room. I'm like, it's a French brasserie. And he was like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what do we call it? I'm like, that's your job.
That's your job. That's not mine.
Like, yeah, you're really good at that portion of it. So.
And did you enjoy? I mean, what was the mental state of developing a menu? I mean, it's one thing to do dunk confit at a wedding, but another thing to like literally stake a whole business on your recipes and things like that.
You know, I had the good fortune of the guys that I was working with up till then of allowing me a lot of creative freedom to really express myself. And then the other thing is that the framework around a French bistro or French brasserie is not going to change a lot from Paris to California. And so, you know, it took us 3 years really to get through from signing the lease all the way to opening that restaurant. And so it was, you know, that was one of those situations where it kind of wrote itself. And it was, a lot of the stuff was a no-brainer to me. It was like, how do we lighten it up? How do we make it California?
Right. But did you find a little comfort in that framework then? Just like instead of having to be like, we're going to rewrite the book?
Yes, absolutely. It's easy and it's fun. And it's my base. It's like I really know French cooking.
Right.
So
it's good. What was the one dish that you felt that was the signature at the time that took that French bistro but made it a real California staple as well?
I think either the blanquette de veau, because we were trying to use a lot of lighter products, not bathe it so much in heavy cream, so it was more white wine based and really beautiful turned vegetables and spring onions, and it was simple, but it carried such a kind of a weight. That was one of the first times where I really, and since have never gone back, is I just completely walked away from veal bones and just started doing a lot of my demi-glasses with more chicken bases, like chicken backs and spines, and just really making a conscious effort to get away from the really thick gummy sauces and just like try to lighten everything up that I was doing. So.
Awesome. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Paley, something we work with Ludo, and the awesome influence that sort of CBS and all old Hollywood is.
Absolutely.
New spot. We got a track from X and Y live here on Snacky Tunes. We'll be right back.
Set me on fire, My lover and I had a hard few nights getting used to the bite. I'm a shark now. Got a switchblade tucked into my teeth. It's a sharp trade for a faulty grenade. I'm a quick thief. Who's to say I'm making friends with the monuments? I'm not the same as your brother. Who's to say I'm making friends with the monuments? I've yet to see a single man do more than me. Oh! Eat me alive. I've got a knife to my throat. Now I hope you like me. It's right. How I come for the choke and I live for the fight. I'm a knight. Come to me close so I know you know. Take a bite. Right. Never be more than a rat in my jaw. Who's to say I'm making friends with the monuments? I'm not the same as your brother. Who's to say I'm making friends with the monuments? I've yet to see a single man do more than me. Oh! Set me on fire. My lover and I had a hard few nights getting used to the bite. I'm a shark now. Set me on fire. Set me on fire. Ooh.
Welcome back to Snacky Tunes. We are here with Chef Greg Bernhardt of Paley and sort of a long who's who laundry list of the California cooking scene the last 15 years. One of them being Chef Ludo. Guy to watch, you know, real up-and-comer. I think he's going to really do something.
Yeah, you could say that.
But so you were at Church and State, and then you sort of caught Ludo's eye. We'd met, and I actually, upon leaving Church and State, I knew that I wanted to take a step back, and I knew that I wanted to refocus and relook at my entire career, and then... Which makes sense, because you sort of hit the ground running from washing dishes to owning your own place in a decade, and I think...
Too much.
Being an artist, you also have to... That's a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
You have to self-reflect on how to move forward.
Yeah, and it was hands down the best thing I did for my career, for myself. Basically, we ran into each other at, I can't remember, it was some kind of a food function, and I knew that he was working on Ludo Bites, and I knew what that entailed, and I knew that if I was going to work under someone again in Los Angeles, it had to be the best technical finesse cook in Los Angeles.
So was working under him like climbing the mountain, going to the sensei, just you come in, think you know stuff, and then he breaks you down and totally builds you back up.
Totally, yeah, absolutely.
Best thing he taught you? What's the best, simplest skill he taught you that you thought you had down, and he goes, no, do it this way?
I think, boy, there's just so much. There's really so much there. I think he taught me to really use my brain, to really think about cooking in a different way. I think prior to working with him, I didn't study it as closely. I didn't have asking myself those really deep and heavy questions.
What? Give me an example of a question.
You know, how to look at a piece of corn differently. Like, yeah, I mean, I can shuck it off the cob and I can cook it, or I can puree it, or I could do this or that. But like, who would think to, you know, dehydrate the silk and then, you know, try to make a brown butter powder on top of it, or just to take one look at the food and then take a step to the left and then look at it again, and then beyond that, how to keep it so intensely consistent. The battles we were fighting, being in other people's kitchens during pop-ups, were just absolutely intense, and so
I mean,
consistency was God.
Yeah. How consistent could you be when you're doing pop-ups nonstop, or was it just like? I mean, I'm not saying that you just understood that was part of what it was to be doing a pop-up, but was this an uphill battle the whole time?
Oh, it was brutal. Yeah, it was intense. Yeah, super intense.
So you work with Ludo, and then you decided that it was time to. You've learned not everything you could, but you decided that you wanted to do your own thing again.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that was my daughter being born. It was.
Hey, man, family time.
Yeah, right.
Consistency.
Yeah, and so I wanted to. You know, while I was having the best time cooking that I'd had in my entire career,
I'm sure it was nothing but fun.
It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was incredible. It was time for me just to kind of grow into the next phase of my life. And while I could have stayed and stuck around for Trois Mec and Petit Trois, it was just time for me to go back and do what I had to do for my family. You know, these boutique things, the art, really leaving the art world for the world of commodity. I ended up, you know, going into these bigger multi-unit operations, and then and high volume, which is it's an amazing experience, and it's actually led me to this doorstep.
Yeah.
In a pretty magnificent way.
So let's talk about Paley. How did that all come about? When did you first hear whispers of it, and how did you get involved?
I was in cahoots with a guy named Kyle Connaughton, who's about to open a restaurant up in Northern California called Single Thread, which is. He's going to do for Hillsburg. People are kind of thinking what Thomas did for.
Really?
Yeah. He's like one of the best chefs you've never heard of. And then
is he a real chef? That type of guy.
Super chef, yeah. And I'd met him through some of my El Bulli friends, and then simultaneously and serendipitously, one of my good buddies of like 8 or 9 years. He's one of the first members of Neuhaus in New York, and actually contacted me and said, hey, I think they're going to be opening this Neuhaus in Los Angeles. Keep your eyes open. And then connected with that, you know, restaurants, blah, blah, blah. And so somehow it happened where I got into the same room with these guys, and I just knew it was a good fit.
Now, this was Plan Do C, the Japanese hospitality group, right?
Exactly, yeah, Plan Do C. And it was funny because my interview process, you know, we ended up more hanging out. I was like, guys, let's go hang out at the farmer's market. Let's go do this and that.
Yeah, but that's hanging out. That's not like hanging out like at a rock show. Like you're sort of showing them.
Yeah, I was showing them around.
You're showing them that you know the scene. You know what that. I mean,
right.
Did you start? So you're hanging out with them. Are you?
What I mean to say is that it was really apparent that we got along.
Well, that's a huge. Yeah, I mean, I think when you're opening up a space like this, you better get along with the owners.
Yeah.
Because this is very much as it is a restaurant. It is a lifestyle sort of approach to it,
sure,
and the people that are coming. I mean, it's a certain. Not that not every restaurant's a restaurant, but this is a big focus on a certain clientele and the location and what it is, and it works well. But I think if you don't have the same vision as the guys who,
yeah, absolutely,
it's like trying to have a clubhouse and not get along with the founders.
Yeah.
So when did you start developing the menu? How early on did you know it wanted to be this like sort of fresh? You know, I mean, there's a lot of. In some ways, a lot of echoes to your childhood of like meats and greens and potatoes and things like that.
Yeah.
But you also have the raw bar. So how did that develop?
So when we met, you know, there wasn't a name, and it was just a big raw empty space. Neuhaus was still just a giant.
I remember seeing the tours.
Yeah,
shout out to Seth Peterson who took me around, and I was like, holy shit, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Did you see the Mr. Brainwash stuff that was here?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a completely empty canvas, and so to speak. And the day after I signed my paperwork to decide to join up with these guys, they sent me an itinerary and sent me to Japan. And we flew
as a surprise.
No, they just wanted. It was like an immersion. They wanted me to know exactly. They were like, okay, the chef is hired. All right, get the crew together, fly everyone out to Japan. We ended up in Tokyo, and then we basically started at the bottom of Japan and just cruised our way up through. We have quite a few amazing properties there, and each property is its own microcosm, run by its own general manager, with its own sensibility, very feng shui. Like, there's no cookie cutter about it. And so, when it came to Paley, that's when we started writing the menu, because I was with Nicola Fanucci, who's 8 years at the French Laundry. He was there for the 3rd Michelin star. He was kind of my visionary partner in like trying to develop what we were going to do, and knowing that we wanted to pay homage to the Japanese, to our company, and then knowing that we wanted to stay express to California, and then also I think that in the last 5 years the gloves have kind of come off in California cooking, where people aren't afraid to really mix it up on the plate. Like once Michelin walked away, everyone was like, well, we're just going to be ourselves. Like, we didn't need you anyway.
Right. Right.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I mean, it's interesting to have... I'm sorry, my brain's just processing a little the fact that there is a distinctly Japanese influence here in what is a very American restaurant, but I guess once you see the attention to detail and the type of food coming out and the precision with it, there is a lot of that sort of... I guess if the Japanese thought, like, we're going to do a restaurant in the center of Hollywood that's inspired by CBS and culture,
right? Yeah.
Even having the on-air signs for in the bathroom, I guess it starts to make a little bit more sense in just the microcosm of that.
Yeah. The attention to details I'm seeing. I think the other allure for these guys was that there's this insanely rich cultural heritage to pull from.
Sure.
It's named after Paley,
Paley himself of CBS fame.
And his wife, Babe, who's still, I think, called one of the best dressed women on the planet. Like, God, I mean, just amazing what they did here. And they're visionary in every aspect, from opening the first building exclusively for the broadcast of radio, and War of the Worlds was done here, to developing Columbia Records and mixing down the Beach Boys albums and Bob Dylan here, Led Zeppelin.
Music does play a big part in the restaurant. I mean, the soundtrack is quite awesome, and it's definitely an American soundtrack.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like everything that happens on a daily basis inside Paley's, that we're really evolving, and we want to evolve with our clientele. And it's kind of a silly thing to say it only 3 months in, but it's a very real thing for us. We walk in there, and if we can make one thing better every single day, we try it, we do it.
So what are some of the dishes? I mean, if someone was to come in, let's say I fly in from a different part of the world, I'm working at Noy House, I pop on over to Paley for dinner, what is the signature meal, or what would you recommend of something that's been on the road, sort of jet set? What's going to set them right?
I think here's the luxury that I had to pull from, is that it runs a pretty wide gamut. It goes from the dry aged Manhattan steak and basically mashed potatoes, all the way up to these really esoteric dishes like the beef tartare with gochujang vinaigrette, miso cream, and grapefruit. So you've got like Korean, Japanese, French, California all on one plate.
Which it's pretty much an LA fusion. I mean, it's like essentially all the best parts of LA.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's, and that's one cool thing, is that, like I said earlier, the gloves are off. We use really great ingredients. We use the best technique we can, French, modern, whatever, or Japanese. And then after that, all bets are off. It's like we will put any flavor on a plate as long as the whole thing has kind of a catalyst for adventure, for taking you somewhere else.
I mean, it sort of goes back to what may have been like a postmodern approach to your painting, where it's like we're going to all this, because California in a way has been very trendy in sometimes the best and worst ways of food trends, totally. But it sounds like what you have filtered out in the same way that a lot of postmodern painters do is like, we're going to take the best techniques, the best approaches, and put that on a plate, and it doesn't matter what the influence comes, and we're going to create a new type of art.
We were really focused on, when Nicola and I were on the bullet train going from Kobe to Tokyo.
One does. Yeah. as one does.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, we're going to make popcorn ice cream. Or we're going to do, the tartare dish was one of the first dishes. I wrote it while we were just having these really intense stops and going through these meals. And we would, the only time that we really had to relax was on the trains. And so
It's a nice way to relax, though.
Yeah, that's where we would write the concept in the menu. That's how we ended up with this, more French formula of appetizers, entrees. Like everyone's doing small plates. Should we make it easy on ourselves and do small plates, or should we do it the right way and go old school with it? Can we try to develop the new classic? Is there a way to look back, just as we did with the mid-century modern dining room? Is there a way to look back to inform the present and the future in everything that we're doing? Can we express ourselves, while still remaining classic? Is there a way to live inside that moment, And that's what we endeavor to do anyway.
And so, how often is the menu going to change? Is it going to be sort of one sort of foot rooted in what you originally developed, but then constantly reinventing and coming back and moving forward?
Exactly. Yeah. It's akin to it's a 200-seat restaurant. Well, 150 inside, but it's akin to being on a train at 80 miles an hour. If you make a right turn, all the people are going to fall out.
Right.
And so what I've been doing is we look really closely at not only the weather and about the farmers markets, but things that aren't quite working the way that we wanted them to. It's a constant state of evolution in that way, where there will be parts, the bones are still there from the original menu, but everything around it just keeps on kind of getting, changed up, and we'll just take something that we decided it's not working anymore. Boom. Thrust in a new one. So
awesome. Well, I can't wait to see where it goes in the next 3 months, the next 3 years. And
thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
I want to thank you for sitting down with us.
Cool.
Where can people find you guys? What's the address? What's the internet address as well?
The street address is 6115 Sunset Boulevard, inside the Columbia Square complex, right in front of Neuhaus. PaleyHollywood.com is our email.
You guys up on that gram? Social media?
Oh yeah, big time. Big time.
How's your gram game?
Mine is terrible.
Okay.
But we have someone helping us with it. I was like, there's just no way.
There's just no way.
I just can't. I don't know. It's difficult for me to commit to that much.
Well, I as a man whose wife has taught him much about Instagram, I have a good tutor, and she's the best at that.
Are you getting better?
I have gotten better, but I would say the secret of all my food grams is that I send pretty much all the photos to her, even when we're not together.
Yeah.
I'd be like, babe, is this okay?
Is this right? Yeah.
Is this right? And then sometimes she'll just get frustrated with me and be like, I'm just going to do it for you.
Yeah. The commitment to the camera is so intense. It's just...
there's only so many ways you can shoot a breakfast taco.
I know, right?
That makes people go, oh, I haven't seen it that way before.
Yeah, completely.
Well, listen, thank you so much for being the show.
Cool.
Super excited. We have Toki Monster, who was back on the show a couple years ago, one of our favorite tracks here on Snacky Tunes.
Follow my lead. And when it doesn't go your way, you got to follow me, cause I've been here before. We're just like family, and I won't steer you wrong. No, I will never, no, I will never follow my lead, cause I've been here before. We're close as family, and I won't steer you wrong. You blame it on yourself, and I know how you want it. And when it doesn't go your way, hey, oh, let it go. See the big picture, explode like a light bulb. Let it unfold, just go. Hey, oh, let it go. See the big picture, explode like a light bulb. Let it unfold, just go.
Today's program is proudly brought to you by Whole Foods Market, America's healthiest grocery store with more than 400 locations throughout the United States. Download the Whole Foods Market app on your smartphone for recipes, sales, information, and digital coupons. Or visit WholeFoodsMarket.com to find a store closest to you.
Welcome back. We have OddKidOut live in studio.
Hey.
Can I call you OddKid or can I call you Butch?
You can call me Butch.
Okay, Butch. Welcome to Snacky Tunes.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming up from Philly.
For sure.
Darren and I are from Philly as well.
No
Born and
way.
raised. Yeah.
Why did you say that in the email?
Well, just for this moment. But I mean, when I say Philly, since you're from there, we're all from the main line. Are you from Philly proper? Or
well, so technically I'm from the suburbs. So I'm like from Chestnut Hill area.
Okay.
Technically from Orland, but no one knows where that is.
No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. So yeah, grew up in the burbs, and now that I go to Drexel, living in the city in West Philly. So.
How do you feel about living in Philly full time?
I love it. It really puts you, as an artist and a creative, it puts you in a completely different environment. Because not that the burbs are bad, it's just like being around, people my age and being around the city and just being influenced by everything happening there is like so much better for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the second that we turned became teenagers, like the day we turned 13, we just started going to like the Troc and the church.
Yeah.
And just going downtown as often as we possibly could.
Yep.
I mean, and we can see Center City from our window, but there's a difference between, being in the suburbs and then just being in it.
Exactly.
What are some of your favorite rooms to play in there?
So I've played the TLA, which is actually probably one of the best
That's
shows
amazing.
I've played. Yeah.
I feel like that's like a total feather in the cap.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Especially growing up there.
Oh, yeah. It's like you got to go to the TLA.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's been a great place. I've played great shows at the Troc. Even places like the Hard Rock is great.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that was a venue when I was, I don't ever remember going to shows.
Oh, really?
It was mostly like the 4040, which is not around anymore, but like the Troc and just a bunch of like also house shows as well.
Right. Definitely.
What's the Drexel like house party show scene like?
It's great. I mean, for what I do, being a producer in hip hop, there's not a lot of outlets.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff for like rock music and punk music.
Right.
And I'll go to those every now and then just because I love all types of music. But no, it's great. There's a lot of people at Drexel that do music, obviously, and people want to find new music all the time. So.
You have a pretty interesting background on things. So you did School of Rock. You did like drumming for rock legends. Like, tell us how you kind of got into all of this.
Yeah, so I'll give you the lowdown.
Yeah.
So when I was like probably, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6, my dad saw me like drumming in the back seat. Just like air drumming, and he was like, let's buy him a drum set. So when I was 6,
that's like the only parent that's ever said that.
I know, right? Noise complaints.
Yeah.
So he bought me a drum set when I was 6 and got enrolled in the School of Rock, which was like the best thing I could have done.
For people who don't know, what is it?
So it's basically like an after-school program that kids can go to, and once a week you do lessons and then you do shows. So the shows consist of covers of, like, they have a classic rock show and you do that. They have like AC/DC, Pink Floyd, all that stuff. And so I did that from around age 8 to 14. But I stayed taking lessons there with a guy named Jim Love until I was probably 18. And they just taught me so much. So I was very, very grateful to go there.
What was one of the things, do you think, like going to School of Rock kind of like prepared you for that maybe just like being in bands and not getting like a more quote unquote formal education?
Yeah, well, it really taught me, first of all, how to format songs. Because when you're young and you have to learn how to memorize songs, it kind of like becomes engraved in you. The other great thing was that you get to be surrounded by kids your age that like music, because there's not a lot of musicians when you're younger that really want to take it seriously. So being in that environment was like priceless.
So how did you make the jump from, do you still play drums?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
So how did you make the transition, the jump from drums to producing and doing like electronic music?
So I had always been a drummer, and I was just yearning to do something more creative. Not that the drums aren't creative, but I wanted a little more creative control. And for my, I guess, when I was 14, my mom bought me this Native Instruments machine and Logic Pro.
Dude, your parents are awesome.
Dude, amazing.
That's
amazing.
that's like two key moves that you've already said. That's great.
They set me up for success. Yeah. Shout out Mom and Dad. But yeah, they got that for my birthday, and then I spent all of high school.
Did you ask for it, or did they just like, hey, we read about this thing, like we think you would be into this?
Well, my mom started noticing how much I liked hip hop and like making beats and stuff, and she actually saw it on, I think, like Apple's homepage. She just saw like Logic Pro go up, and she was like, hey, do you want this for your birthday? And I was like, yeah.
Amazing.
So
awesome.
That's
like so. I mean, okay, keep going. So yeah.
So anyway, I spent like all of high school just sitting in my room figuring it out. Like, I didn't take lessons for my MPC or anything like that. I just YouTube stuff, and I took what I knew from drumming and music and just put it to it. So
can we hear something?
Yeah, of course. I'll put some on right now.
What are you gonna do for us first?
I'm gonna play a beat called Through You.
Okay. So you mentioned that you're at Drexel. How do you find the balance between being a musician and a student?
Tough.
Go on.
Yeah, so, I mean, both are very time-consuming and require a lot of attention and work. So, sometimes I battle with choosing what comes first and what's more important. I mean, I love school, but...
what are you studying?
Music business.
Oh, so, I mean, it's relatable.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely relatable. I mean, there's some times where you have to take classes that have nothing to do with what you want to do, which is always a pain. But no, I mean, I think I'm doing a good job kind of balancing it all. It just takes a lot of, planning, and also just sacrificing a lot of things, as far as like not going out on the weekends and to catch up on work and stuff. So
I mean, if this goes well, you'll be out like far enough like that'll like kind of even out in the end.
Right.
How's the reception been to your music, and where are you finding your place in the Philadelphia musicscape?
It's really been great. I just started producing as OddKidOut about 8 or 9 months ago, and in that time frame, I've gotten myself to around 65,000 followers on Instagram, and
that's how I found you. I was
Instagram?
like through Instagram. Oh, really? And your email was in there. I mean, that's how I found you. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. It works.
Yeah. It's like an online business card. That's what I always say.
And it's kind of amazing, like sometimes for bands, how hard it is to track them down.
Yeah.
But you made it real easy, which is why you're sitting here.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks. But no, it's good because I took the connections that I had from drumming and just being in the music scene and hit those people up and we're like, hey, I'm not just a drummer, I'm a producer too, and been booked on some shows and keeping it moving. So,
and how have you found to the older Philadelphia music scene? Is it you within the Drexel scene, or are you in the larger Philadelphia scene as well?
I would probably say I'm doing more outside of Drexel. Not that I don't have support from Drexel. I just find myself, being in front of just Philadelphians, before students. But yeah, because I'm just always going out to the city trying to meet new people.
Have you toured yet?
As a producer, no.
Oh, okay.
As a drummer, yes.
Oh, okay. And I know that you'd mentioned that you'd worked with some Grammy people and some older people in the game. What's the story there?
So I'm very close with a guy named David Ivory who produced The Roots and Patti LaBelle, Erykah Badu. And I work with Cam Hoff, who wrote a few Neo songs. I work with Beyonce. There's just a lot of people. Oh, the Nicola brothers, who worked with Cypress Hill and Lauryn Hill and stuff. That came from drumming. And then, using those relationships to push the production career has been helpful too.
So did you work with them as a drummer?
Yeah,
first?
As a drummer, and I would intern at their studios in high school, and just be like, if you need help, just call me.
Any valuable lessons you picked up from interning, or any advice you give to people who are weighing the pros and cons of? I'm all for interning, but current generation are maybe not as down with that. Any advice that you can give, or kind of here's why you should do it?
Yeah.
Or why you shouldn't do it?
You should do it. Yeah. Because, first of all, you're learning if you pick a good internship, you're learning the entire time. So that's already amazing. And two, you become close with that person because after you spend, days after days in the studio with this same person, you build a rapport and you get called to do work after your internship is over. So, and especially if it's in another place away from where you're living, then you get a whole new environment too. So,
yeah, I mean, and also the distance between the suburbs and the city at 14 seems like a huge. Even now, you're like, oh, it's not that far.
Yeah,
but at that time, it's it might as well be a world away.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, the one thing that's interesting about producing, and you kind of touched on, is that it is so collaborative. So how do you find the artists that kind of work with you in the project, or how do you weave them in to OddKidOut?
So I'm the type of person that just genuinely loves working with people. Now, if we want to talk about finding someone that's really, meshing with my sound, I kind of struggle with that.
What do you mean?
Well, there's just not, I don't know how to put it. There's just not a lot of... I haven't found many people that can really take my beats and do something with their voice over it that sounds like the way I want it to. That being said, I've definitely come across a good amount of people that have, but the majority that I do, it doesn't feel like it necessarily meshes the greatest that it could.
Who are some of the people that fit well with your music?
Yeah, so I'm contradicting myself, but a good amount of people. A girl named Ashley Leone, who's out in Nashville now. I used to be her drummer, and she's got the second song on the EP that I just put out. And she sounds great on everything. She's got a beautiful voice. A rapper named Odyssey, who I'm close with, who's a high school friend. He's on the EP as well. This guy named Luke Bryan from Philly, a guitarist named Todd who sings through his guitar. He's amazing.
Acoustic or electric?
He does both, but mostly electric. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so he's awesome. The list definitely goes on. I'm missing a few, but...
And like, how does, where's your approach in the process? I mean, people are so varied. Is it the beats are finished first and then you hand it over? Is it there's a framework? Like, how does the collaboration, how does it come together?
It definitely varies with who I work with. So a lot of the times I have people just come to my studio and shop for beats. So I'll just play them beats and, you like it? Cool. Other times I'll have people over, like my friend Mitch Beer. He comes over and we start from scratch. And both have their pros and cons. So,
do you have like one that you prefer over the other?
Well, I guess I like working from the ground up with the person because then you feel like you're creating something together. Sometimes I feel like I'm just dishing beats to people, and like that's great, but I would much rather sit down with the person and really, tailor it to what they would want.
Great. Let's hear something else.
Yeah, sure. I'll play a song off the EP.
Okay, perfect. What's this called?
I'm going to play Amor. This is the single.
Great.
Bello mio, voglio solamente meraviglioso te. Da quando ero piccola avevo sogni di un fidanzato perfetto. Ti amo davvero, ti voglio bene. Salvami, baciami ancora. Amami ancora, carissimo, cuore mio. Dammi tutto del tuo amore, amore.
I know it's been a short time, but it feels like forever. You're always on my mind, now more than ever. Can't remember life without you. The memories just aren't there. I think that my heart always knew that I needed you there. Pretty sure I know what to call it. Could call it love, but I don't wanna move too fast. Identifying us. Do the same rules apply when it's up to you and me? Oh, I'll take my chances now. Only one thing this could be. Maybe it's too early. Tell me if it's early. Don't want to scare you. Don't want you to walk away, but I want you only. You're the best part of my day. I love you. Talking crazy, but please don't be afraid. I know you feel it too. I can tell in the way you behave. Pretty sure I know what to call it. Could call it love. Oh, but I don't wanna move too fast. Identifying us. Maybe it's too early. Tell me if it's early. Don't wanna scare you. Don't want you to walk away.
Your wrongs, Bonnet.
Yeah, here you go talking that shit.
I write them songs that make chicks spend nights and thongs, sorta kinda not quite for long.
Yo, you really drawn right now.
Love when I hear, love when I spit. Paint a picture, she in love with this shit perfect. She in love with the drip, so dog I can't tell it's your chick. Nah, see she in love with my clique. Get money, dress fly, talk shit. I bet you played a part in this shit. Joe me like Melissa Joan Hart and shit.
Oh yeah, you Joe shit.
Need a chick to make a partner and shit. We can take a trip to the big car dealership.
Come on, then we
think
out.
You know who you are dealing with. That no murder nigga killing shit. Nigga flow like water, BP, oil still spilling shit. Bar closed, nigga still feeling it. One bottle left, nigga still chilling it. She still ride, nigga still willing it.
You know what? I should have listened to my girlfriend. I don't even know why.
Who are the vocalists on that?
So that's Gogo Morrow, who's a singer from Philly.
Good name.
Yeah, dude, she's awesome. And then the rapper is Bonic, who actually used to be, killing the game in Philly a couple years back. But yeah, he's the man.
So what was the process of making this EP? This is your first one, right?
Yeah, so I released something senior year as blah, blah, blah.
That's fine.
No one knows.
Unless you bring it up, no one's going to know. So it's up to you how you want to tell that story. We'll just go back and say this is the first.
Yeah, so this is the first OddKidOut release. So I wanted it to be... The way I put it is like an autobiography of music, basically. So I wanted to tell my story through music, basically. It's very much a story. You have to listen to it from the beginning to the end, and the interludes within it, kind of tell it. But I kind of wanted to make something that made people think and something that was cathartic to people,
An EP is, really about editing and, not turning into LP. So how were you able to tell your story, or how did you kind of craft the story over like a shorter form?
So the EP was actually originally like 15 songs. And
of course.
Yeah, so I had to cut it down.
All gold.
Right.
All gold.
So I had to cut it down to 6. And that was probably the hardest part of the EP, was figuring out how to make up for all of that lost storytelling. So what I kind of left it up to was the emotions within the beats to kind of speak on that. And then there's tiny little snippets of things that you'll catch at the beginning and the end. And if you take the time to sit and think and piece it all together, it'll make sense.
Do you have who are your trusted ears? Like who do you send before it gets the final lock?
So my roommate Scott,
is that default?
No,
did you get paired freshman year?
Dude, so we've been friends since high school, and we went to Drexel together. And he, I'll call him into the studio and be like, "Hey, I need you to come listen to this," because I trust him very much. Another person was my manager, Kirkland Lynch. I would send it to him, let him hear it. And then the people I was talking about before, like David, Ivory, and all those people that really have a good ear and that I trust. And friends like, my friend Mitch Beer that I was talking about before, he helped out a lot too. So.
And is it open for refinement? Do you take their notes in, or is it more or how do you take that in, even if you feel it's done? Or where do you send it to them in the process?
I send it to them when I feel excited about it. And it takes me, I don't necessarily get hyped up about something when I make it. It kind of takes a little bit until I feel like it's at that point. And when I send it, I don't send it with the mind frame that it's done. I very much want someone to beat me up with their comments. I want as much feedback as possible, because I'm jaded, because it's my own ear. So...
Oh, so your skin's pretty thick, or do something?
Oh yeah, okay. No, I want people to tell me what's up, because I'll make the changes.
Has someone ever said something that kind of slid right beneath the breastplate, kind of cut you a little bit?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
And what's cool about this is that you released it on BitTorrent too.
Yeah.
So how did that? That seems like such a modern kind of move.
Mm-hmm.
How did that come about?
Well, my manager and I thought it was a great move because they have so many listeners. And when we got approached about the situation, we kind of just wanted to jump on it. And also the great thing about it was that we got to do this premium edition type thing where people could enter their emails, and then they'll get a more video, and they'll get some pictures and stuff. So it was just a way to be more personal with the fans.
What happens to the other songs? I was going to ask for the other songs, the 9 songs that didn't make it onto the EP. Is that just EP2, EP3? Do they just kind of live somewhere else?
I don't know. They may reemerge at some point. They're sitting in my iTunes library, but I want to do something with them for sure.
Plans for the summer? Tour?
Yes, I'm
out in the studio.
I'm actually headed to LA for the summer, and I'm interning.
Where are you interning?
Red Light Management.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
The more business of the music side.
Exactly.
They're great.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. And the great thing is that, I'm going to keep talking about my manager, he lives out there. So I'll be able to really, spend time with him and work on my craft on my days that I'm off. So
don't knock a good team.
No.
You can go very, very far. You should really like your manager.
Oh my gosh,
and your day-to-day and everything.
Yeah.
Do you know you're going to live in LA?
No, dude, that's the one thing I haven't figured out, and it's stressing me out.
You going to get a car?
I don't know. Can't you only rent it when you're 25?
Yeah, I guess that is a is a concern. I don't know. I've done Uber. I work out there, and I have been out there for 3 years. I have not rented a car in 3 years. Uber's like kind of really cheap.
I heard the bus is the move.
Yeah, I think like the rule is that as long as you're willing to pick up like all the Ubers, you can probably like get rides for half the things.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like you just have to like you can't be the person without the car and be like, oh, I would have gotten that one. You have to be the first to offer.
Right.
And I think I don't know. It depends if you're gonna be in the studio most of the time anyway, or at work.
I'm gonna try and get housing like right next to where I'm working, so I don't have to like travel too far.
Yeah, I mean it's the one thing that kills me. I mean it's the most classic East Coast complaint, but the traffic really it's like the most like stereotypical thing for me to say. It's like the traffic. Well, I know we want to leave a lot of time for you to do a freestyle at the end, just to kind of let you spread your legs and take us for a walk. But where can people find you? How can they add to that ever-growing Instagram account, book you, shop for beats, build songs from the ground up?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all under OddKidOut, and that's OddKidOut.
You are so well trained. It's amazing. It's incredible.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no. It's really easy. Just type in OddKidOut. I'll pop up. You'll see mine.
Cool.
Well, my face.
I want to thank our guests today. Shout out to the family. Shout out to Berlin. And any name for the freestyle? You're just going to let it go?
Yeah, this is just kind of like a little thing I put together.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for being on here, and take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We talk about food, we talk about music with musical dudes. Finger on the pulse, Snacky Tunes.
Thanks for listening to this program on heritageradionetwork.org. You can find all of our archived programs on our website or as podcasts in the iTunes Store by searching Heritage Radio Network. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at heritage_radio. You can email us questions at any time at info@heritageradionetwork.org. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization. To donate and become a member, visit our website today. Thanks for listening.